The day Gavin Southwell stood on the floor of the Nasdaq and rang the opening bell for the second time, his mind was not on the stock price. Instead, he was thinking about a folder sitting on his desk back at the office. Inside were dozens of messages from ordinary Americans who had accessed health insurance for the first time through the company he ran. Some described outcomes that could only be called life-saving. "I used to keep a folder on my desk of the emails and letters we would receive from people whose lives had been saved by the healthcare we had been able to connect them with," Southwell said. "There were tens of thousands of lives that were saved each year. It still amazes me. That sense of purpose has impacted much of Southwell's career. Over nearly 2 decades, he has worked across insurance technology, capital markets, and global operations with a focus on building businesses that expand access and create systems people can rely on. In his view, compliance, governance, and transparency are not bureaucratic hurdles. They are the foundation of companies that deliver meaningful value." Today, Southwell serves as a consultant, advisor, and investor to technology-driven companies. Drawing on decades of leadership experience, he helps organizations think through growth, governance, and strategy in industries where technology and finance increasingly overlap. Southwell grew up in a working-class community in northern England before moving to London to begin his career in investment banking and insurance. Over time, his work placed him at the crossroads of technology, regulation, and financial risk. He later served as CEO and president of what Fortune magazine ranked the #1 fastest-growing public company from 2017 to 2019, outperforming companies such as Amazon and Facebook on the growth index during that period. The insurtech firm was valued at $2.2 billion when he departed and was backed by a $30 billion private equity fund. Earlier in his career, Southwell served as COO of what became the largest privately owned insurance broker in the world. During his tenure, the firm won London Broker of the Year, completed one of the largest wholesale insurance transactions following the acquisition of a major U.S. broker, and managed what was then the largest insurance contract in the world. He also helped build what is widely recognized as the world's first quote-buy print insurance platform, later acquired by the world's largest insurer and deployed globally. At Lloyd's of London, where Southwell held an early role in risk management, the organization became the first Lloyd's insurance company to receive a strong rating for risk management. The distinction foreshadowed the governance standards that would become central to his leadership style. Throughout his career, Southwell has relied on a principle he considers non-negotiable. "Facts matter. Data is important," he said. "I've always been very data-driven." That focus proved essential not only in scaling businesses but also in navigating scrutiny. During his leadership, the insurtech firm operated across 43 states, each with its own regulatory framework. Despite that complexity, the company maintained what Southwell describes as the lowest complaint rate in the industry, a claim supported by multi-state regulatory review. "I knew that data didn't lie," he said. "I knew that facts mattered, and I knew that my company did have the lowest complaints." Years later, after everything was settled without any admission or finding of wrongdoing, "I can hold my head up high knowing the company I ran operated honorably and ethically." In many boardrooms, governance tends to enter the conversation only when lawyers or regulators become involved. It is often treated as a procedural requirement rather than a strategic advantage. Southwell sees it differently. In his view, governance simply means running a company where responsibilities are clear, decisions are transparent, and problems are addressed before they grow into larger issues. That belief has guided much of his leadership. One early influence was Andrew Beasley, the insurance executive who built one of the largest Lloyd's syndicates and gave Southwell one of his first senior opportunities. "He taught me to build on your strengths and not to focus so much on trying to solve weaknesses," Southwell said. Rather than layering organizations with bureaucracy, Southwell believes effective companies rely on clarity and accountability. When teams understand their roles and decision-making structures are well defined, organizations move faster and make fewer mistakes. Those principles carried into his leadership of one of the fastest-growing insurtech companies in the United States. Operating across dozens of jurisdictions required systems capable of identifying issues early and resolving them quickly. The result was one of the lowest complaint rates in the sector. Gavin Southwell says outcomes like that rarely happen by chance. They are the result of systems designed to identify and resolve issues before customers ever experience them. He also believes governance must extend beyond the boardroom. It needs to be understood across the entire organization. At his insurtech firm, thousands of blue-collar workers were trained to become licensed insurance agents, creating a workforce that was roughly 70% female and 75% minority. Building a culture of accountability meant making compliance understandable and relevant to everyone, not just executives. When asked about the values that guide him, Southwell keeps it simple. Family first, you win, we win, just get it done, and make it count, he said. You never know what will happen tomorrow, so may as well do it today. When people ask what I do, I always tell them I work really hard. At its best, he believes governance functions the same way. It is not a constraint imposed from above, but a shared system that allows people to do their jobs well and build something that lasts. Running a technology-driven insurance business in the United States means operating within one of the most complex regulatory environments in the world. Health insurance alone involves overlapping federal rules, state oversight, and political priorities that can shift dramatically between administrations. Southwell says companies that succeed in that environment do not simply react to regulatory pressure. They prepare for it. Too many companies wait for regulators to tell them what to do, he said. By that point you're already behind. During his time leading a rapidly growing insurtech company, the business operated across 43 states, each with its own compliance framework and oversight bodies. Managing that patchwork required systems capable of tracking performance, monitoring complaints, and documenting compliance across jurisdictions. Southwell says that level of discipline is about more than reducing risk. It builds credibility. If you're operating in a highly regulated industry, transparency is not optional, he said. You have to know your numbers, understand your processes, and be able to show regulators exactly how your business works. Today, Southwell advises and invests in technology-focused growth companies. In those roles, he encourages founders to treat governance and regulatory preparedness as core parts of building a company rather than issues to address later. Companies that ignore governance early, he says, often pay for it later. Strong businesses are built on systems, Southwell said. When your processes are clear and your data is clean, you can operate with confidence even in complex environments. Southwell has built much of his leadership approach around anticipating regulatory shifts before they occur. In industries such as insurance and financial technology, where oversight evolves constantly, organizations that wait for regulators to define the path forward often find themselves scrambling to catch up. Instead, he encourages leaders to establish strong compliance systems, transparent reporting structures, and disciplined internal processes from the beginning. When regulatory awareness becomes part of how a company operates, businesses can move forward with greater confidence while building trust with regulators, investors, and partners. My advice to leaders is simple, Southwell said. Know your numbers, build strong systems early, and never treat governance like an afterthought. If your data is clean and your processes are transparent, you can stand in front of any regulator, investor, or partner with confidence. That's what real leadership looks like.